12.2. And now your Western Conference team that might be a sleeper, the Sacramento Kings. You look at another team who's put up good fights against tough teams. Yes, they are 9-20. Do they have a chance? Probably not. But they beat the Heat in overtime. They go to San Antonio, put up a great fight, but collapse in the fourth quarter to lose by 8. Again, the Kings, I'm just saying, at least they're putting up a fight against good teams. You know, you look at the schedule, maybe this is just a this week thing. They don't have what Charlotte had going for them. Kings, it's a long way to become the Royals that their name implies. Cue a Lord song. Do we have that queued up? No. Sorry. I mean, that was the perfect time for that pun, and yet it's not there. But me, like the Kings, not been able to capitalize off of a good opportunity. And with that segue of trying way too hard, we move on to college football. That's right. We are done with basketball. First, we're going to start off with a little bit of a bowl recap. We do want to go quickly because, of course, we got to have time for NFL. We'll start with the Little Caesars Bowl. And by the way, we will give you the best name for every single bowl after a short recap. The picks for me, they've been back and forth. I started this streak of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bowl games. I'm going to give you started off bad and then stringed a few off at the end. So it's been up and down. Right now, I believe I am 7-8, 8-7. Not as good as I expected. Nonetheless, Pittsburgh against Bowling Green. The Panthers defeated the Falcons 30-27. A 39-yard go-ahead field goal from kicker Chris Blewett. And for being a kicker and the last name being Blewett, you automatically win the name game for this one. Chris Blewett is your winner of the name game in the Little Caesars Bowl. More on that later. Perhaps a foreshadow for the awards ceremony at the end of the show. Or should I say awards. Utah State against Northern Illinois. Our favorite Jordan Lynch could not come through. A bust. It turned out to be a Qualcomm, the Poinsettia Bowl. Utah State came away with the 21-14 victory. And it was not as close as the score implies. The late touchdown for the Huskies. They couldn't recover an onside kick. And Northern Illinois was held to just 99 yards rushing on the ground. Their defense was good. Northern Illinois. They held Utah to 289 total yards. But it appears that Utah State was able to take advantages, whereas the Huskies could not. Your name of the game is going to be Tommy Lee Lewis, wide receiver in Northern Illinois. Nothing special until you realize that Tommy Lee is his entire first name. Tommylee. You can't decide between Tommy or Lee. Like that Taco Bell commercial, why not do both? Excuse me, I'm trying to rattle them all off here. Military Bowl, Maryland, Marshall. This was a surprise to me, to be quite honest. Marshall comes away with the win over Maryland, 31-20. Oh, by the way, maybe I shouldn't back on your Sharks. I've just been notified, thank you Bleacher Report, that the Anaheim Ducks' 10-game winning streak has been snapped in a 3-1 loss to the San Jose Sharks.
See, now I'm kind of sad because it was 3-0 the last time I checked. I'm getting text updates from my sister who happens to be at the game.
Oh.
Yeah. No, but it was a shutout for a while, so that's not great. Although I would like to give a shout out to a Sharks player, Bracken Kearns. He is a 31-year-old. He's the oldest Shark in history to score his first ever goal at 31. So congrats to him.
31?
Yeah.
So when he enters the ice, can we say release the Bracken?
Yes. You can.
I approve. But in that Marshall, Maryland game, Maryland had a 99-yard touchdown drive to give them the lead, but Marshall would not play dead. 2 touchdowns later, they came out on top, 31-20, capped off by an 8-yard touchdown pass to our name game winner of the Military Bowl, Gator Hoskins, wide receiver for Marshall, 31-20. Marshall defeats Maryland in quite a surprise. And speaking of surprises, Syracuse topped Minnesota. We were both pretty confident about this one.
We were both. I was very depressed after this one. This is a 33 game. I should note that Bowling Green was my 31. I have missed 2 top 30 games already. I'm really nervous now because I've got North Texas as my 30 team, and I just have a weird feeling they're going to backfire.
Well, that's what happens when you pick low-profile teams. Yet Syracuse did defeat Minnesota 21-17. A big punt return. They were able to score. Minnesota had 2 chances at Hail Mary. Neither of them worked. Syracuse defeats Minnesota in perhaps Jerry Kill's last game. The name game here, this was a tight one. Well, Minnesota wide receiver Max Williams, spelled with 2 X's, just barely lost out. A split-second decision for me, or should I say last-second decision, to go with one of Minnesota's kick returners, KJ May.
I'm against this, by the way.
KJ May.
I am against this, by the way.
It rhymes.
Nothing for the way.
Noah, Max Williams or KJ May?
KJ May.
Thank you. KJ May, rhyme time, comes through. Fight Hunger Bowl. This was a game between BYU and Washington. Neither of us were confident. I picked BYU. Carl picked Washington. I believe, Noah, you picked Washington in this game?
Yes.
Well, Washington did come through. It turns out they were able to power through with Bishop Sankey 31-16. Notable play, 100-yard kickoff return for John Russ early in the second quarter. Also, Mackey Award-winning tight end Austin Safarian Jenkins has declared for the draft. So that was his last game with the Huskies. Should be interesting to see what he does in his NFL career. Name game winner of this one goes to, and I loved this one. This was a good one. I don't think anyone's going to argue with this one. Washington receiver Damore Stringfellow, Damore''E' Stringfellow, spelled like string and fellow, but put together. Pinstripe Bowl, and we got another forecast. I just realized we have 3 bowls in our awards ceremony, so a nice little foreshadow for the Pinstripe Bowl. Perhaps something, it has nothing to do with either of the teams, but since we're talking about college football, we should talk about the teams that played. Notre Dame defeated Rutgers 29-16. Fun fact, with Notre Dame's win and Michigan's loss, Notre Dame is now the winningest program in college football once again, edging out Michigan by 1, I believe, 0.010%?
I think it's 2, actually.
2.
I believe it is.
We'll have to get someone to fact check that one. And the Pinstripe Bowl name game winner is Janarian Grant. There weren't any really great names, but Janarian's good for me. By the way, kickers named Kyle did well in this one. Kyle Brinza, kicker for Notre Dame, hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 field goals, and Kyle Federico of Rutgers hit 3 of his own. Belk Bowl, and this was a fun one for names. I put 1 point on North Carolina, but they did come through and beat Cincinnati in front of a home crowd. You could basically consider this was an in-state game for North Carolina. 39-17 the final score. It was a blowout from the start. They did not look back. So many good names in this game, though. Yet, only one can come up top. It was close. Nothing for Hosey Williams, or Ralph Abernathy, or Tion Green, or Romar Morris, or Quinshaw Davis. They all lost. That's how good these were. The winner goes to Mikhail McKay, Cincinnati receiver. I don't know if it's pronounced Macaulay McKay or Mikhail McKay, and I can't decide which one's better. So either way, he definitely deserves the win in that one. Russell Athletic Bowl. Teddy Bridgewater, as they're now calling him Teddy Ballgame. Not sure how I feel about the nickname. But
it sounds like a baseball name.
Well, I definitely know how I feel about the performance. A fantastic one for him. In the air, 35-45, 447 yards, 3 touchdowns. They demolished Miami 36-9 in the Russell Athletic Bowl. And the name game winner here would have to go to Cenaris Perry. Cenaris, don't call him Sunrise Perry. Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl. This one between Michigan and Kansas State. And our final foreshadow for the awards ceremony at the end of the show. The K-State Wildcats defeated the Michigan Wolverines 31-14. Gardner, the Michigan quarterback, was injured for this game, did not play. And the winner here, I hate to throw this back probably to 3rd grade, but here you go. Everyone could use some 3rd grade humor once in a while. Jake Butt is the winner of the name game. Michigan receiver, Jake Butt. Alright, now that we have done our obligated bowl rundown, we did have the bowl prediction show on hosted by Carl's College Football on Air. All 3 of us were there. But we did not make our BCS predictions. We promised we'd make them eventually. Eventually is now. BCS Bowl predictions.
Starting with what?
We will start with the Rose Bowl between Stanford and Michigan State. What a good defensive battle I imagine this is going to be. Noah.
Well, I will be rooting for the Big Ten despite Michigan State defeating Ohio State. But unfortunately, I don't have that much enthusiasm and optimism that Michigan State is going to come out of this. In one of my groups, I am picking Michigan State just because I'm trying to pick every single team on the right side, though that streak has been snapped, unfortunately. But I'm still going to do it anyways and see which one actually ends up being better. But really, I'm sorry, Stanford is better. Gaffney is just going to run it right at Michigan State, despite how good Michigan State is on defense. I think their strength is more of their safeties, and I don't think they've really gone up against a team like Stanford. I think Michigan State has a shot, an outside shot, but Stanford, for me, better team. I'm not sure Jeremy Langford can get anything going against Stanford either.
Well, we'll see. It'll be exciting in the granddaddy of them all. Carl.
I've got Michigan State winning this one. I think their defense is outstanding, the best in the nation, and they've got along with that best defense in the nation comes maybe the best secondary, with a couple players who will definitely be playing on Sunday. I have Michigan State with a confidence of, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I guess it's because I picked too many upsets. 14.
I believe I picked Stanford in this one with 13, because I think Stanford, first of all, is going to win out with the defense. I think that they really overpower teams at the line on offense and on defense. They have the experience, and I think head coach David Shaw is really, how do they say this? The bee's knees? I don't know why a 60s expression was the first one that hit me, but there you go. It's official, David Shaw is the bee's knees, and therefore I picked Stanford to win the Rose Bowl. And right after the Rose Bowl, we will have
the Fiesta Bowl
between Baylor and UCF. Will Blake Bortles put on the show and rise up backboards, or will the dominant Baylor offense continue to do so? Noah.
I'm going to say both. I think Bortles is going to have a terrific game. I think he's going to play very well and continue to help his draft stock. But I think Baylor is still going to run all over them. I'm sorry. Baylor's offense is prolific. And UCF, you can't really say that they've gone up against a team like this, because I wouldn't put Louisville in that category of offense. Bryce Petty, Lacey Strunk, Glasgow, Martin. They have a great trio of running back names. It's going to be a good name selection for that one. But I have to go with Baylor. I really want Central Florida to win, but I don't see Central Florida coming out of this with a win, no matter how many points they can put up on the board.
Carl?
Well, I don't really want UCF to win, and I don't think they will. I think Baylor is going to pull this one out. The Bears of Baylor, I see them pulling this one out. The most interesting storyline of this game is whether or not Bryce Petty stays for Baylor, a quarterback who could go in the top 10 of the draft, along with Blake Bortles, another quarterback who could be a top 10 draft pick. So, a battle of quarterbacks. I see Baylor pulling out this one. I see them very confidently pulling out this one.
I think Bortles is going to go. I think Petty should stay. I think Baylor's going to win, and I echo Noah's thoughts completely here. UCF is not going to be prepared for this offense. I don't think there are many colleges at all that could prepare for an offense of this tenacity that Baylor brings. It's impressive, to say the very least, and I truly mean that. Moving on, Sugar Bowl. Alabama hosting Oklahoma. Well, it's not a national championship game, but that doesn't mean Alabama can't win. Crimson Tide and the Sooners. Carl, you get to start.
I get to start, and I get to start by saying, I personally am not a